How about a big hand for Donna Green Townsend?
Thank you so much. Thank you. I tell you what, this is a very, very special evening. I am so honored to get to be the person to interview Margaret Longhill for this 27th annual Will McLean Music Festival. 27 years, amazing. And it almost just goes without saying, I'm sure that you all really get it, that she is the person who had the passion and the vision to start this festival so many years ago. Let's give her another hand. Dr. Margaret Longhill.
Donna did not let me know ahead of time what she was going to say, so just be careful, okay?
She is so humble. She wanted to sit on the front row and just enjoy it, and I was like, no, not tonight. Not tonight, Margaret. So let me tell you a little bit about how we're going to do this presentation tonight. We're going to be exploring the history of the Will McLean Music Festival, find out what inspired her to help keep Will McLean's songs alive, because as you all have heard many times, Will McLean wanted to save Florida through his music, and Margaret understood that many years ago. And so we're going to be talking to her and then also hearing some very special music performances interspersed with this presentation. And so we ought to just get started. Okay, Margaret, if you would, tell us when you first met Will McLean. It's been a long time, but can you recall a little bit about that night or that day?
Yes, I was living next door to this friend of mine, and I were visiting in my house, which was next door to this newspaper writer. And unknown to us, Will was being interviewed by that writer next door to us. And the first thing, that was in the days when you laid out in the sun, and my friend and I were laying out in my backyard, which had a pretty good sized fence. Well, the first thing we knew, there were these two heads looking over the fence. That's how I met Will.
That's pretty neat. Now, you obviously heard him sing a little bit that day too, I think I heard you say. He sang some songs, but somewhere along the line you went, this guy's got something important to say, is my impression.
What?
That Will had some kind of important message that you felt strongly about, that you wanted more people to continue hearing that music, right?
And like one of the young musicians said, I didn't know that people wrote songs about the earth. That I thought they were just all about people that were in love. So I said, oh yeah, these songs are about the earth and about the sky and about all of nature. And it was a brand new thing for this young person. So that's kind of how things got started. And you all know how wonderful this music is that celebrates our wonderful earth.
And keeping along those lines, some of the songs that Will wrote about were about critters like turtles, like Conch Island. Many of you heard that song. He wrote about a deadly chase for a panther in Tate's Hell, right? Those are just really different kinds of songs. Yeah. Well, for those who have never been to the festival before, because we're so thrilled with the publicity we got this year from many news media outlets, but if you're here for the first time, just know Will McLean was born in Chipley, Florida in 1919. He died in 1990, and we had the most beautiful memorial service for him, and then dispersed his ashes into the Ocklawaha River. And then Margaret spearheaded this effort to get Will McLean into the Florida Artists Hall of Fame. I think he was the first Florida folk artist, right, Margaret?
Mm-hmm. That's right. Will McLean was the first Florida folk artist to be inducted into the Florida Artists Hall of Fame.
Thanks to this lady right here that happened. It's incredible. And so before we hear one of the musical performances, we need to talk a little bit about the passion you had for having a song contest with this festival. Why was that so important to have a song contest in the festival?
Well, a contest, it helps to encourage people because there's a prize. When you have a contest, you've got prizes. So we had this song contest, and a lot of the musicians that are here wrote beautiful Florida songs, and some of them won the contest, some of them didn't, but I think the songs are all wonderful.
And now we've had, since 1992, we've had hundreds of Florida songs. Will would be so proud to know how many songs have been inspired by his dream to save Florida through music. And the first song contest winner is coming up on the stage now, and joined by his lovely wife. This is Ken Skeens and Leigh. And he not only won first place, but he won second and tied for third. And Will, many people know that Will, he had a lot of great musical buddies. Paul Champion, Jim Ballou, Gamble Rogers. And of course, it was said that they weaved their magical music together. And so the song that Ken wrote kind of echoes that whole thing. It's called The Empty Chair. Are we ready? Let's hear it, Empty Chair.
Rolling down a Florida back road, I was feeling kinda dry. Saw this little twilight town pasted on a purple sky. So I stopped in at their tavern, found myself a stool, watched a quiet game of checkers, some good old boys playing pool. All the local crowd assembled, and three strange pickers happened in, and knew they knew each other, for they had a knowing grin. They pulled four chairs into a circle, sat down, feet upon the rungs, seemed to speak a special lingo, as if they spoke in tongues. Seems the one against the wall was that banjo-picking Paul. Man next to him was that sweet-picking Jim. And the third picker there, in his black hat with no bill. There beside that empty chair was a man they just called they were singing it sweet, they were picking it tight, they were tapping their feet, they were playing so right. They're slam bang jamming down at the tavern tonight. Well, a hush fell on the tavern when he walked in through the door. Everybody knew him, he played there many times before. The three strangers knew him too, were not surprised to see him there. They all stood and shook his hand and nodded to the empty chair. He uncased a much-played Martin, stroked his fingers aside his nose, and with that he oiled the strings, struck that old familiar pose. And the music then forthcoming was the sweetest in the land. These four noble sons of Florida kicking up the sand. Seems the one against the wall was that banjo picking Paul. Man next to him was that sweet picking Jim. Next to Will to make the four, kicking up the beat, that old Florida troubadour, the circle was complete. Well, they were singing it sweet, they were picking it tight, they were tapping their feet, they were playing so right. They're slam, bam, and jamming down at the tavern tonight. Oh, it was such a sweet homecoming. They all knew he had to ramble. They were drinking in the music, all so glad to see old Gamble. Banjo, guitars, harps, and singing, oh, it was such a welcome sight. Ocklawaha County's favorite son is playing home tonight. Oh, they were singing it sweet, they were picking it tight, they were tapping their feet, they were playing so right. They're slam, bam, and jamming down at the tavern tonight. Oh, I had to move along, and as I left them playing there, I could still hear their song floating on the midnight air. So now whenever there's a jam, no matter when or where, or whoever might drop in, I always have an empty chair. So now whenever there's a jam, no matter when or where, or whoever might drop in, always have